All right, what's going on, everybody? Canuck here, and we've got a brand new design tutorial. Sort of tutorial, as I'm still actually kind of learning the things as well, so apologies for this being potentially a little bit rambly, as I've only had about a couple hours trying to figure this out. But we have some amazing new changes to the designer here with Season 2 and PGA Tour 2K25. So I want to walk you through them. They're pretty significant, and for the most part, they're all awesome. There is one thing I'm really not overly happy with, which I'll get to at the end, but everything else is really, really cool. So let's just jump right into this. This is a course I'm currently working on right now. But the big thing, I'm going to work on this hole here, is pot bunkers. I mean, we've been waiting for pot bunkers. I've been waiting for pot bunkers for like 10 years. I mean, we all have. Everyone has been dying to make pot bunkers. We can finally do it. So how we do it here is in the create surfaces bunker, just like how we always make a bunker. But now we have these toggle switches and we have this pot bunker thing. So let me talk a little bit about what this means. I'm still trying to work out how everything works, but it does have a rather good tutorial if you do hold it down. It talks about how pot bunkers are only going to be using the brush, so you cannot spline pot bunkers, unfortunately. You can only use the brush tool. The bunker base depth, the lip start, the lip depth, and the steepness work the same as they did before with our regular default bunkers. Okay, so those are all the same. And then this pot bunker setting, this will actually turn on and off pot bunkers. So there's actually 3 settings. So if you set it to the default, that will apply the default, like, kind of regular bunker settings. So the depth, start, lip depth, lip steepness to your bunkers. Okay. If you turn the pot bunker on, obviously it'll turn it on. If you turn it off, it'll turn the pot bunker back off. Hopefully that makes sense. But for example, if I just want to lay down kind of just a regular, let's just start with a regular base pot bunker. So right now, I currently have the settings that are the default bunker settings that I have for these here. Now, for my pot bunkers, obviously I want to make these a little bit deeper, okay? And you can fiddle around with these, but if I now click this on, okay, and let's just change the depth, okay? This will now change the depth for whatever pot bunker you lay down. So maybe we'll keep the start, the depth, and the steepness relatively same, but maybe let's just make this depth, I don't know, something like 17. And we'll just start with kind of a basic rounded bunker and lay it down there. There it is. There's beautiful sod walls. I mean, that looks absolutely awesome. So if you're wondering, like, oh, maybe that's not quite deep enough, I want to change it, and then maybe you go to the lip depth, or the base depth again, and you try to play around with it, you're going to notice it's actually not going to work. So this is actually only going to change the next brush you do. Okay, it took me a while to figure this out too. But if you want to change the current bunker that you just laid down, you actually have to go to the cursor, select the bunker, and then from there, you can adjust whatever you want. Okay, so there's the depth. You can change the lip start if you want. You can put that to 0, and that'll get rid of all that sod wall. It looks like kind of 50 to 60 seems to be the best number. Yeah, somewhere in there. And then the lip depth. Obviously, you can make it super deep. Like a crater almost. But yeah, really play around with these settings, as they're going to be pretty cool to play with. And then the steepness. Obviously, the less steep you make it, the more rounded those bunker edges are going to be. So lots of neat things that you can play with there. And if you do just turn the toggle off, it'll just default back to the default settings. So this, if you turn it on, it's basically the custom setting for that bunker there. Okay. So if I wanted to, lay down another bunker, for example. Okay. So now from here, the next bunker I lay down will have that same depth that I used right here that I changed. But if I want to change things for my next bunker, like for example, maybe I want to make the depth a little bit bigger. Maybe the lip start, I don't know, a little bit less. Again, just showing us some examples here. Oh. And then maybe lip steepness, something like 65 or 70. And then I'll throw down another. Let's just throw down a square bunker just for comparison. And then that will have, obviously, very different settings. which that looks ridiculous, but really cool because now you can customize all your bunkers. Okay. Some other cool things you can do, which I've noticed, is you can kind of chain pot bunkers and not pot bunkers together. So for example, maybe you wanted kind of a shallow bunker that heads into maybe like a deeper pot, for example. So maybe I'm going to make this a little bit deeper, something like that. But then maybe I want to make my next bunker, okay, I'm going to have a little bunker coming off this way. So maybe I want to make that one. So I'm going to turn those pot bunkers off. And let's just say I want that just kind of my regular default, just like this. And then if I select my brush, let's just say I want one kind of leaking into here. If I put it down. And then you can kind of see we've got a regular bunker here that kind of leaks into a pot bunker. So I am just starting to play around with this, but I mean, I think the options for this are going to be absolutely limitless, which are awesome. So brushes are extremely customizable now. Also, like even for this, like this bunker here, I actually made out of brushes. If I want, I could just make this bunker, this portion, I could make it a little bit deeper if I wanted to. I mean, that's pretty cool. So super customizable with what you can do with bunkers now. I can't wait to see what everyone figures out, but there is some really, really cool stuff here. Okay. Now, the next thing, my next real favorite thing here, okay, is over in the bunker settings, okay? There's this bunker mask fairways and greens, and now it's usually set to both, okay? If you're wondering, because every time you used to lay down a bunker in the fairway, you'd get this obnoxious little ring of heavy rough, and people used to get around it by kind of double splining around it. It was just a massive pain. You don't have to do that anymore. So now what you can do is, actually, let's just, for an example, I'm going to make a bunker just out of, so if I go back to default, I'll get my spline back. Let's just say I want to spline a bunker here, just a basic one. Okay, and we always used to get that annoying ring around here, and it just used to drive me nuts anyway. But now, instead of having to make the kind of double spline to go around it, you can now go into settings, bunker settings, and you can set this. Bunkers, mask, fairways, and greens. So you could set it if you want to spline only. And do you see there, my shapes don't have that annoying heavy rough layer, but my splines do. You can reverse it, so it's brush only. But probably the most popular one is you're just going to hit none. And now you can see you have these perfect well, that bunker's awful, but perfect, that annoying ring of heavy rough has finally disappeared, which I think is probably my favorite feature of the designer. So I absolutely love that. So what else is new? There's a few. I mean, those are the big ones. Like the pot bunkers are the big ones. The water tool is now fixed, sort of. And when I mean fixed, sort of, they gave us our good old square water plane back, which is very, very nice to have. Okay, I never thought I would miss this thing, but it's gonna, you just kind of create a little bit of a pit, and you can make, well, I'll just show you if you're new to it. But if you wanted to make water, okay, maybe you wanted to make a little lake like this, you would just bring it down there, and then we're gonna add our water plane, just like this, and now you can lower it down, raise it up as much as you want, something like that. And that is literally all it takes. Super, super easy. Okay, and then you can just kind of paint it. You can hide this so you don't have that annoying square around there. But so much easier, so much easier to deal with that there. So that's pretty cool. What I also have actually noticed is you can actually use the pot bunkers to make a sort of retaining wall. And I actually had some mixed results with this, but let me see if I can actually mimic this, because this is actually kind of cool, because Retaining walls are a massive pain in the butt in this game. I never use them. I've hated them, but this might actually make me use one potentially. And what you're actually going to do is you're going to make a bunker and you're going to cover it with that water plane. So let's just actually see if this works. I had mixed results when I worked with this, so doing this live here, but we're just going to make a real big pot bunker. Make the depth quite large. And let's just make a big oval for now. Throw that down. Okay, and you can see you've got some weird, you can flatten that out and change that around a little bit, but maybe I just wanted to use that certain edge there. I may actually just make this a little bit deeper. Like that. There we go. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to add a water plane on top of it. I was getting some funky results, but let's just see if this works. I'd bring up that land so that wouldn't show. But you can actually see here, you'd have to flatten parts out, but you can get a nice looking, it's not retaining wall, it's sod, but it kind of looks like retaining wall, so that might be an interesting thing to play with. You can just flatten this out, and you have a nice retaining wall. So that's kind of cool. Kind of a workaround for potential retaining walls, but something neat that was that I noticed. Well, not I noticed, actually. I don't take credit for that, but something kind of cool that another community member found earlier today. And the last thing I wanted to show before my big negative is the firmness settings and the green speed. We now have not just very fast, we have extremely fast. We have extremely fast, and we also have like over 150 firmness, but be careful with this, because look what it's done to my green. It is pretty much all red now, and you play it on max firmness, and unless you've got a course that plays max firmness like it should, like it's going to be pretty much unplayable. So just be super careful with what you do with your firmness. But as you can see, if I knock this back down to what I had it, like kind of about 8.8, that looks a little bit friendlier. So just be careful with the max firmness, but you do get a little bit more to play with, which is nice. So that's pretty much it. The last thing I do want to talk about, the thing that I did find disappointing, and I don't know if you've been noticing it as I've been flying around, but look at the grass. You notice the draw distance of the grass? That was never an issue before, and I've checked my graphics settings. I've had a few people confirm this on PC as well as console. This is a big disappointment considering how amazing grasses are in this game, how good they look. This, I mean, for, if you want to make like high camera shots, having that, if you have a lot of grass on your course, that pop in is going to be definitely noticeable, as you can see it as I'm flying around here. Yeah, so I'm not sure. I'm not a dev why this changed. I'm guessing they needed to save resources somehow in the designer. Maybe they were finding it was crashing too much. I don't know. But I'm hoping this gets improved, because this is definitely a bit of a bummer. But the rest of it is amazing. I can't wait to see what people can do with these new bunkers and kind of combining the shapes of non-pop bunkers with pop bunkers. It's really, really cool. So I can't wait to see what people come up with. I still got a lot of playing around to do, but yeah, I just wanted to give you guys a look at the tools. And if you have any questions, let me know in the comments. Also, I'm streaming a lot more course design lately. I'm working on this course probably a couple days a week, kind of at random times. So make sure to check out the streams if you are interested in course design, want to ask any questions, things like that. So thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll see you next time.